Chapter 2028, No Flying Allowed in the Demon King's Castle. Zhang Yi smiled and asked, "You mean your mom and dad, right? You're going to the royal city, and it's so far away from home. If you don't tell them, won't they worry?" Huh? Richie's face was filled with confusion. What? Mom and dad? What are they? He scratched his little head, looking completely confused. Zhang Yi was completely stunned. Did everyone in this world come out of a crack in the ground? Li Changgong added, "They're the people who gave birth to you and raised you." Where are they? Richie suddenly understood. Oh, you mean them. They probably work in the village. Who knows what they do? Zhang Yi raised his eyebrows. You're so respectful. Richie said again, but it was the Holy Mercy Orphanage that raised me. The aunts and uncles there are so good to me. Zhang Yi was silent for a moment. Are you an orphan? What's an orphan? Zhang Yi even felt a little sorry for him. Li Changgong spoke sharply, "It means that your parents are dead, and you were sent to a place to be raised. None of the children there have parents." Richie's eyes darted around, and he suddenly understood. Ah, I get it. You two brave warriors must be from another world, so you don't understand the situation here. In our country of Helen, there is no such thing as parents. He said this with such conviction that Zhang Yi almost lost his temper. Richie continued, "Every baby born in Helen is sent to the Holy Mercy Orphanage to be raised. They are educated according to their talents, and when they grow up, they are assigned different jobs. Adults live together, and then suitable people are asked to have children. But the kingdom does not force anyone to marry. It is for the sake of the kingdom's survival that people must find someone to have children with when they reach a certain age. They are not parents, just seed providers. The kingdom is responsible for raising the next generation." Zhang Yi finally understood that the social system of the kingdom of Helen was completely different from the outside world. He asked curiously, "Don't people want to raise their own children?" Most people don't, because our society is accustomed to this system. If someone really wants to raise a child, they can go work at the Holy Mercy Orphanage. But they are not allowed to know which child is theirs. Therefore, they treat all the next generation equally. Zhang Yi became even more curious. This social system sounded quite interesting. But what about people's assets? If they work hard their whole lives and have no children to inherit their property, won't it be confiscated by the state? Yes. Richie looked as if he thought it was only natural. While people are alive, they can enjoy everything they earn through their labor. After they die, these social resources are collected by the state and redistributed to others. Isn't that only fair? If rich and powerful people continue to hold on to resources and pass them on to their next generation, then the vast majority of ordinary people will never have a chance to rise. This kind of thing is not allowed in our country. Zhang Yi fell into a long silence. He began to wonder if this fantasy world was real. Or was this an ideal country? I still find it strange. People are always selfish. Didn't you say there was a king here? Kings are supposed to be passed down from generation to generation, right? Of course not. Richie looked at Zhang Yi strangely, as if he had said something treasonous. The king is the most talented person in the kingdom who is elected by the people. After each king steps down, a new king is elected. Before taking office, the new kings must undergo rigorous training and follow the old king for a period of time. Only after passing the test and confirming that they are capable can they take office. These are the princes and princesses of the kingdom. Zhang Yi was speechless. In that case, doesn't that mean that the princes and princesses may be older than the king? That's true. Richie nodded. Zhang Yi took a deep breath. He suddenly found this world very interesting. Descendants were not the offspring of individuals, but of the collective. Therefore, everyone had to take care of the descendants of all, as members of the collective, to continue the glory of the collective. And because they didn't have to consider the issue of descendants, they only had to consider how to live their own lives freely or gloriously, which allowed them to do their work better. This system was very interesting. he became even more curious. Why did Mammon create such a world? With this thought in mind, Zhang Yi was very eager to go to the royal city. The royal city was very far away, but Zhang Yi used his abilities and arrived there in no time. It was a huge city standing on a plain, with an architectural style somewhat similar to that of medieval Europe, as the buildings were all made of huge stones. The city was very large and bustling with activity. From a distance, he could see merchants doing business and customers buying goods on the streets. Didn't you say that the Demon King's army was coming to invade? Why don't I see any signs of war? Zhang Yi asked curiously. Richie spread his hands. This is the center of the kingdom, and the Demon King's army is far away. They are in the distant Demon Beast Mountains, in the dark swamps where the dragon-like monsters dwell. They cannot affect the stability of the royal city for the time being. Okay. Zhang Yi didn't care about these things right now. He only cared about where Ling's human body was. The closer he got to this place, the stronger his sense of her became. Sure enough, it was here. Is Mammon guiding me here? This thought crossed Zhang Yi's mind. After arriving at the royal city, Richie said to Zhang Yi, "Brave hero, unlicensed flying is not allowed in the royal city. Otherwise, you will be arrested and punished by the royal city's guard army. We have to enter through the main gate." Zhang Yi saw the soldiers in steel armor on the city walls and didn't want to cause any trouble. Although he could use Space Shuffle to enter the city directly, he still obediently went to the city gate. As soon as he appeared, he attracted the attention of everyone around him. There was no way around it. Zhang Yi couldn't put away the Spear of Longinus now. Everything was for safety. With his appearance, it would be strange if he didn't attract attention. Pedestrians whispered to each other, their strange gazes falling on Zhang Yi and his two companions. Several soldiers guarding the city approached with serious expressions. Who are you? Dressed in such strange attire, are you merchants from a distant land who have come here to do business? Chapter 2029, Symbol of Disaster. The soldiers guarding the city were quite polite and did not act as arrogantly as expected. Richie stepped forward and said loudly, "These two are heroes. They were sent by the goddess to defeat the Demon King. I saw it with my own eyes, they fell from the sky." Upon hearing this, the people around them suddenly changed their expressions and looked at Zhang Yi and Li Changgong with eager eyes. Heroes? Have more heroes arrived? I knew it, whenever there is danger, heroes will always stand up and save the world. Zhang Yi didn't need to say much, as Richie took care of everything for him. However, admitting to being a brave warrior wasn't a bad thing. It would make it easier for him to enter the city, and he could ask about Ling's human form while he was there. Upon hearing this, the soldiers guarding the city were filled with respect. Please wait a moment. He quickly ran back and soon returned with a man who looked like a general. This man was the commander of the city's army. Are you the brave man? Where are you from? The general asked cautiously. From another world. Zhang Yi said. There was another burst of exclamations from the crowd, and the general's eyes lit up. He immediately said, "In that case, please take down the task list for subduing the Demon King with your own hands, then come with me to see the king." He pointed the way for Zhang Yi. On one side of the city gate, there was a stone tablet with some notices posted on it. The largest one in the center was the mission to defeat the Demon King. It's been 3 years, and finally someone has taken up the challenge. Now the kingdom of Helen can finally have peace. Someone in the crowd said happily. Zhang Yi thought about it, walked over, and took down the list. He decided to follow the plot of the story and find an opportunity to obtain Ling's human body. At least according to the plot, he hadn't encountered any danger along the way. When they saw Zhang Yi take down the list, the crowd immediately burst into cheers. The general guarding the city immediately shouted at the top of his lungs, "Go report to the king. A brave man has taken the challenge and accepted the task of defeating the Demon King." Yes. Soldiers immediately mounted their horses and rode off to report. Zhang Yi and the other two were surrounded and escorted into the city, where someone brought a luxurious carriage and invited them to get in. Richie was very excited. He had never been in such a nice carriage before, so he jumped right in. Zhang Yi and Li Changgong followed suit, but the huge spear of Longinus was still eye-catching. Zhang Yi thought about it and decided to put it away first. Otherwise, it would be difficult to enter the city, as the streets were not that wide. He just needed to keep the second hand of time activated at all times to avoid sudden attacks. General Kuzan, who was guarding the city, rode a horse and led a group of soldiers to escort them to the royal city. Kuzan was very flattering to Zhang Yi. The Demon King's army has been invading for 3 years, and there has been constant strife in the Demon Beast Mountains. Countless soldiers have died in battle, and the common people have been displaced. We have all been waiting for your arrival. Zhang Yi leaned out the window and looked at him with an amused expression. But what if the hero doesn't show up? We can't wait for the hero to save us every time the Demon King descends, can we? Kuzan shook his head when he heard this. No, the hero will definitely appear. History has proven that this is an ironclad rule. Whenever the kingdom is in danger, a hero will inevitably appear. At this point, he suddenly smiled and said, perhaps it will be someone who comes here from the outside world. But even if no one comes from outside, the kingdom of Helen will produce its own brave hero. Our kingdom will not waste a single talented person. As long as someone has talent, they will be promoted and appointed. The brave among the people are also brave. Zhang Yi raised his eyebrows and did not continue the conversation, but instead pondered. What kind of world was this? The royal city was very prosperous, and out of curiosity, people came to see what this strange and bizarre brave man looked like. However, Zhang Yi did not take off his helmet, so he looked like a powerful and terrifying creature from hell, dressed in black and red armor. On the contrary, Li Changgong leaned casually against the carriage, enjoying the attention of the young girls around him. Young girls always admire heroes, and many of the girls in the crowd, whose hearts were just beginning to stir, looked at them on the carriage with red faces. As the carriage moved forward, Zhang Yi could clearly feel that Ling's human form was getting closer to him. Finally, when they arrived in front of a relatively tall building, Zhang Yi's eyes widened. He saw a huge white statue standing in the square in front of the building, half of its body completely sunk into the ground. It was clearly Ling. The scene of Ling transforming into the Knight of the Sword and fighting Mammon had never left his mind. He had finally found Ling's human form. Zhang Yi couldn't contain his excitement. His fingers moved, but he didn't go directly to retrieve her. Instead, he looked at General Kuzan and asked, "What is this thing? Why is it stuck in the ground, causing the entire square to crack?" Hearing this, General Kuzan looked at Ling's human form with some helplessness and said, 3 years ago, this strange statue suddenly fell from the sky and crashed into the center of the kingdom's square. No matter what we did, we couldn't pull it out, so we had no choice but to leave it there. It seems that it was from that time that a powerful demon king named Senkel was born among the monsters and began attacking the borders of the kingdom of Helen. Kuzan sighed, this is a symbol of disaster. A faint smile appeared on Zhang Yi's lips. Wasn't that right? To Mammon, Ling was a huge disaster. Li Changgong didn't recognize Ling. He had never been to Tianyu Palace, so he just took a curious look at Ling's human form and lost interest. Zhang Yi suddenly said loudly, as a brave warrior, I came here to help the people live in peace. This statue is an ominous sign. I absolutely cannot leave it here. Now, I will help you solve this problem. With that, he jumped off the carriage and walked towards Ling's human body. His eyes were filled with uncontrollable excitement. Once he got Ling's human body, he would leave this godforsaken place immediately. He had no time to play house with the people of this illusory realm. Zhang Yi walked towards Ling's human body and raised his hand to open the dimensional gate. The dimensional gate was invisible, and no one else could see it. He activated his power and began to pull the human body into his dimensional gate. Boom! The square shook violently, and the soldiers around him saw this and hurriedly stabilized themselves.